Howdy there, Isaac here. Happy 500 subs special, even though I'm like 50 subs late. Anyways, as anyone who's seen my recent videos will know, I've been dying to make this what if in particular, and I'm happy this topic won the vote. But don't worry, I might end up using the Yamcha what if for a 600 sub special since he almost won as well. Anyways, we all know what you're actually here for. Without further ado, let's see what may have happened if General Blue survived. The story starts in a quick second. First things first, I will be changing General Blue's character around just to make him more acceptable. Now, there's nothing wrong with him being scared of rats or into dudes, but he is 28 and actively hits on children, so we should probably change that. In this version of the story, we'll give General Blue the Leorio treatment, making him 16, so he's still around Goku and company's age, but he can still look like a grown man, kinda like Yamcha and Tien. Next up, we'll be basing his powers on the psionic operative from XCOM 2, so he'll be a psychic or Esper instead of a wizard, like some people seem to think he is for some reason. With all this exposition out of the way, let's get on with the actual story. We'll be starting right after General Blue's loss at the Pirate Cave, where he breaks out of the rubble and begins making his way back to Red Ribbon headquarters. On the way there, Blue thinks about what happened to General White and Colonel Silver, and how he was just like them now. Blue valued loyalty and expected Red to value it as well, though he knew results were above all else. Well, no matter the punishment, the general knew he could get the Dragon Balls back. He already defeated both Krillin and Goku. If it weren't for that stupid rodent, he would have won both the Dragon Balls and all that treasure. Luckily, he wasn't completely empty-handed, as he was able to snag the Dragon Radar, something Red would surely appreciate. However, once Blue arrived at the base, he was hardly welcomed back with open arms. In fact, word had spread of the general's failure and his possible execution, should he still be alive, that is. Now this shocked the general, who instantly went inside to confront his commander. While Red does like having the Dragon Radar, he was also already hiring Tao, and Captain Yellow already located Goku, so Blue was basically empty-handed in the eyes of Commander Red. However, if Blue could defeat Tao, then he'd be pardoned for his failure. However, the general utterly loses to the mercenary, who goes in for a temple shot, intending to win with one hit. But here's where our story changes even further. Blue, seeing his psychic abilities fail and knowing he's about to be offed, focuses all of his energy onto himself, trying to form a shield of sorts, using his strange abilities to block or at least mitigate Tao's attack. This surprisingly works, his whole body being coated in a dark purple aura, though Blue is put into a somewhat sleep-like state after conjuring this ability. Tao attempts to attack Blue several more times, but he's unable to break through whatever this shield is, and just as he's about to use his Dodon Ray, Red stops him, saying they have more important matters to attend to. Tao dislikes the idea of not finishing off this General Blue guy, but he was paid to finish off Goku, so he figures he should do that as quickly as possible. Blue can hear everything that's going on around him, though he can't move, and if he does, his shield would likely be broken. He had no idea such a strong ability was possible, but it does make him a sitting duck, so the general isn't sure if he'll be using this anytime soon. What's more important though is the fact that Red was so willing to let him die. Heck, as soon as Tao leaves, Red has several Red Ribbon soldiers surround Blue in anticipation of whenever this ability will end. Blue knew the consequence of failure, but to go as far as to prepare a firing squad? Are you serious? After everything Blue had done for the Red Ribbon Army, even crawling back with the radar and offering to find the Dragon Balls, how could Red not see value in his abilities? Well, you know what? If Red was going to throw away his talents, perhaps they'd be better served elsewhere. The first thing Blue would do was make sure Red knew just how badly he'd messed up by hiring Tao instead of him. Blue listens to the shifting of the men around him, counting how many there were, including Red and Staff Officer Black, before ending his stasis and using telekinesis to fling the nearby grunts into the wall. Staff Officer Black was about to attack next, but Blue uses some grenades on a nearby soldier as a distraction. While Red and Black take cover, Blue rushes out of the room, though he makes sure to snatch the Dragon Radar back from the commander. From there, the general makes his way towards the hangar bay, and like everyone in GTA 5, he steals a plane and flies off into the sunset. Now, while Blue could simply live out the rest of his days on some peaceful farm or in West City, he also wants to see Tao and Commander Red pay. He might not be able to beat the mercenary by himself, but he does remember Goku and Krillin being rather strong in their own right. If he could find them and train them up to his level, then perhaps they could all beat Tao together. And if Blue knew Goku, he'd be pursuing the Dragon Balls. The now ex-general turned on his Dragon Radar and went towards the closest ping, this being the 4-star ball. Once Blue lands, he sees Upa attempting to bury Goku and immediately freaks out. In comedic fashion, the general rushes over, holding his only hope at beating Tao, something that makes Upa think Blue is an ally and friend of Goku. But once the monkey boy wakes up and subsequently notices Blue holding him, things get very awkward very quickly. Goku's ready for a fight, but the general proposes they team up to defeat Tao, and Goku is actually a little receptive to this idea, but says they need to help Upa bury Bora, something the general thinks is a waste of time, but helps out anyway. Once the trio is done, Upa reveals that Korin might be able to help them, and this catches Blue off guard. Wait, so if he just drinks some random sacred water, he'll become stronger? Strong enough to beat Tao by himself? Well, the general couldn't possibly pass up something like that, so he and Goku begin their long ascent of Korin's tower. Whilst climbing the tower, Blue explains what happened with Tao and how all he wants is revenge, something Goku can somewhat understand now. Whilst the monkey boy isn't completely trusting of his new ally, he also remembers how Yamcha started out and thinks Blue would also be a pretty good ally, especially since he was already pretty strong. The two eventually make their way to the top and meet Whiskers the Wonder Cat, who reads both their minds and decides he'll give them the coveted water. If they can catch him, that is. Goku and Blue spend all day chasing the cat, running up and down the tower using every trick in their respective books, but nothing works. Goku isn't too angry, but Blue, who's never really had to train much in his life, is getting incredibly frustrated with the cat and his lack of progress. But just as Blue was about to explode, Korin reveals that Roshi was the last person to get the sacred water from him, and that they were progressing far quicker than he did. This somewhat helps with Blue's bruised ego, but Goku takes this as inspiration to keep going. The next day, both Goku and Blue improve further, with the monkey boy using his tail to nearly steal the water, whilst Blue uses his telekinesis to push Korin far harder than Goku could. However, no matter what objects Blue threw at the cat, he couldn't hit the water, and for some reason his powers didn't work on the water pot. Of course, it was probably cursed with some sort of magic, but still, Blue should be able to at least lift it, but no, nothing. Not to mention, the cat was seemingly impervious to Blue's psychic eyes, his most advanced trick. Well, while Blue began to lose his temper, Korn uses as a teaching opportunity, rushing the soldier and beginning to beat him up with said water pot. Whilst the irony wasn't lost on him, there wasn't much he could do against the cat, and was left with a pretty sizable bruise on his forehead. That night, though, Korn gave both his students some advice, though it's more towards General Blue. Goku had progressed far faster than anyone he had seen, and while Blue had also progressed, he was starting to fall behind Goku. Now listen up, you two. You're unable to take this water from me for one reason and one reason only. You're not focusing on yourselves. You're too focused on me. Next time, focus on reading not only my movements, but feeling your own. Without keeping a mindful eye on yourself, you'll never get this water. Goku understands exactly what Korn is saying, but Blue has a bit of trouble wrapping his head around the concept. He knows how to fight and move, but he just isn't fast enough to catch up to Korn. But that's when Blue notices just how far behind he's fallen. On the third and final day, Goku finally gets Korn's sacred water, while all Blue can do is watch from the sidelines. But once the Wonder Cat reveals it was just normal tap water, both Goku and Blue realize what the actual point of this training was. Blue felt somewhat ashamed that he wanted the sacred water as a shortcut, without having to put in any real work to get stronger. He had always been stronger and faster than those around him, and thought he could just coast by using his psychic powers. But even if he was super strong, he still needed to put in work to get even stronger. Blue accepted that Goku had surpassed him, and while he wanted to be the one to defeat Tao, he also knew Goku was the one who deserved that honor. Now, the fight between Tao and the Saiyan goes exactly as it does normally, except Blue and Appa watch from the sidelines. When the mercenary fake surrenders to Goku, the general is suspicious, and the suspicions are later confirmed when he sees the slight glint of a grenade. However, Tao never gets to throw said grenade, as when he tries, it seemingly sticks to his hands. The mercenary looks over to see Blue, holding a hand out, using telekinesis to keep the explosive stuck to his hands, whilst also pulling Goku out of the blast radius. Blue smirks as the nade explodes, dealing with mercenary Tao once and for all. From here, Goku wants to finish off the remaining Red Ribbon Army members, something Blue can definitely get behind. The duo rush the base, using Blue's knowledge of the area to their advantage, and eventually get to Commander Red's room. He tries to flee and leave Staff Officer Black behind, but Blue isn't going to let that man who betrayed him leave so quickly. Whilst Goku and Black have their fated battle, Blue and Red have a fight of their own. Well, I say fight, but it's more like Red trying to run away while Blue just menacingly walks over and takes him out. From here, Bulma and the rest of the Z Fighters make their way there, most of which are surprised to see Blue and Goku seemingly hanging out. The two don't exactly bother explaining their new friendship, but Goku tells everyone that Blue is cool, and the others hesitantly accept this. Now, whilst Goku is about to go on a journey to find the Dragon Balls, Blue chooses not to follow the young Saiyan. Instead, the soldier returns to train some more with Korin, as he still hadn't been able to catch the cat. While Goku and company are off on their adventures, the ex-general is off training, but not just physically, as he soon surpasses Korin during the 3-year time skip. During this time, Blue trains his mind, calming himself and often meditating whilst using his psychic abilities. Think of Luke's training with Yoda on Dagobah, doing an upside-down handstand whilst lifting rocks. Either way, Blue manages to increase both his physical power, but also his psychic abilities, something that'll come in handy pretty soon. Once the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai rolls around, Blue decides to enroll, especially since he knows Goku and the others will likely be there. While the soldier isn't overly interested in battle, he does wish to test his skills against Goku in particular. Everyone meets up on tournament grounds, with Blue surprised that Yamcha of all people would welcome him there, while Krillin is a bit hesitant to do so for obvious reasons. The trio do get to know each other better though, with Yamcha and Blue sparring a bit before Goku arrives and steals the show as usual. Now, usually, Tien Shinhan would have Chaozu manipulate the bracket, but being a psychic himself, Blue can see what's happening here and uses his own powers to undo whatever Chaozu does. This means that the bracket ends up getting all skewed, meaning the first fight up is Chaozu versus Manwolf. This fight is pretty intense, but the little psychic is able to eke out a win due to his far more advanced powers, though he spends most of the fight wondering how this could be possible. He had specifically paired the wolf with Jackie Chun due to his grudge. Someone had to be messing with them. It must be one of those Turtle School students. Yeah, they were making a mockery of the Crane School, but they'd pay for this. Even if Chaozu had to forfeit against Tien, their school would still come out on top. Now, Roshi, disguised as Jackie Chun, fights against Tien, and it goes pretty much the same as it does in the anime. While Roshi does contemplate fighting all out, he also recognizes just how much potential the Triclops has, and so ends up giving up right as the battle was about to heat up. While Tien and most of the other fighters are left stunned, Blue somewhat understands what's going on here. Tien indeed had a huge amount of potential, and while he was certainly ruthless, he was nowhere near as heinous as Blue had been prior. Roshi was likely trying to teach Tien an important lesson, just as Korin had done so many years ago. Oh well, Blue would keep an eye on the Triclops later, as his match was up next, and his opponent was Yamcha. Now, while the Desert Bandit has indeed become strong, he is no match for Blue. The two start off slow, but eventually Yamcha is pushed into using the Kamehameha, though this doesn't seem to faze his opponent, who simply stares down the blast and points his single hand towards the beam. A large yellow beam shoots out of Blue's hand, completely overwhelming Yamcha and sending him flying out of the ring, much to his own disappointment. Blue congratulates the bandit though, since he was able to push him to use his new Soulfire technique, although the soldier doesn't reveal that he didn't need to use a blast, and just used it to show off. The two simply shake hands and go back to the bleachers to watch the next fight. And speaking of which, next up is Krillin vs. Goku, and that goes about the same as it does normally, with Goku beating Krillin. Chaozu is of course about to forfeit in order to help Tien preserve his strength, but the Triclops is having none of it. After basically losing to Roshi and seeing his own teammate about to quit as well, Tien is feeling quite insulted. He orders the psychic to stay in the ring and fight him, something Chaozu isn't exactly eager about. The fight is over practically before it even begins, as Tien doesn't hold back, taking out his anger on Chaozu in an effort to prove himself superior once again. However, once his partner is knocked out, the Triclops comes to his senses. He was about to humiliate Chaozu in front of this whole crowd, and Master Shen, for no other reason than he was angry and this was what he was told to do. Tien then simply turns around, waits for the referee to count to 10, and walks out of the ring, much to Shen's annoyance. Meanwhile, Blue prepares for his fight against Goku, something he's been interested in for quite some time. The two meet within the ring, bowing to each other before taking up their respective battle stances. The following fight happens at speeds so fast that only Roshi and Tien can follow, with both Goku and Blue zipping around the battlefield, testing each other out with a few light hits and kicks until Goku eventually uses the Kamehameha. Now, while everyone expects Blue to counter, or maybe even block, he instead reveals a brand new ability, and that is that he can fly. Blue simply jumps into the air and levitates there, completely dodging the blast and keeping a keen eye on Goku, who had planned on using the blast as a distraction. The two instead charge each other once more, though Blue continues to fly slightly above the ground, using this as a way to make Goku exert more effort just to attack him. The two engage in an afterimage duel, both chipping away at each other until Blue finally begins to go all out, using his telekinesis to break tiles off the arena and throw them at Goku. The Monkey Boy is able to dodge every single one of them, that is, until he gets frozen in place and kicked across the arena, nearly flying out then and there. Goku manages to recover, but Blue continues pressing the attack, utilizing his psychic abilities and martial arts prowess to keep Goku on his toes. Eventually, the Saiyan is pushed towards the edge of the ring, and right as he's about to jump towards Blue, the tiles beneath his feet trip him up, before Blue charges forward and kicks him out of the ring. It isn't a glorious win, but the crowd still cheers, and Goku accepts his loss. Blue congratulates Goku on a really fun match though, but he then looks towards Tien, who looks quite conflicted about the upcoming fight. Both Blue and Goku agree that guy is strong, before the Saiyan says he's rooting for the ex-general. With Blue preparing for the big boss of this tournament, and Tien wondering about his ideals, that's where we'll be leaving things off for right now. If you guys enjoyed this story, I'd appreciate it if you used your telekinesis on that like button, or maybe even use Soulfire on that subscribe button. But even if you don't, thank you for just getting to this part of the video. Now, I have to admit, this video is on time, but the Zarbon video is not, and that's because I barely got my voice back. Unfortunately, I fell sick, and making a video during that week was basically impossible. But I decided to make this video as soon as I could since, well, this what if was pretty important to me. While it isn't my deepest or craziest story, it's one that I know you guys wanted and was made to celebrate you guys. And really, thank you guys. No matter if you're a new subscriber or if you've been here since I was only at 200 or heck, since I was at 1. And even if it's been a couple weeks, you guys still got us halfway to 600 already. That's insane. I mean, I know I say that all the time, but growing so fast is kind of scary now that I think about it. And seeing everyone leave such kind comments genuinely leaves me dumbfounded that people enjoy my videos so much. Truly. Thank you guys. Here's to 500, and everyone who's going to come afterwards. But I should probably start editing this for you guys. So, you guys have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye-bye.